So the all-new Ertiga has finally been launched, and talking to me about it is a man who's really been behind it. Raman-san, thanks for talking to us.
Hi, Hormazd. Thank you.
This is an important segment for you all, clearly, and
We actually created it.
that's right, absolutely. But what I've seen is, I've seen this car has grown, and it looks like you're focusing more on the personal side of the segment than just fleet sales.
Yes.
So obviously there's a cost to that, and you have to balance that out. So I just want to understand the philosophy in the new Ertiga and what lessons had you learned from the older one.
When we started with the earlier Ertiga, the first generation Ertiga, we wanted a vehicle which was compact on the outside but roomier on the inside, and that was the concept. But 3-row, people, extended family traveling together. So a 7-seater was what we looked at. And we also used a lot of combination across models, and it was not really a ground up kind of a vehicle. Now, with having created the segment and drawing very good numbers and being almost a leader in this segment, we felt that we need to develop it ground up. So basically on the 5th generation platform, this whole vehicle has been built up, and it is now like the difference between a Swift and a Desire. It's very different now. So you don't see anything which is there in the new generation Ertiga which has any similarity or resemblance to the earlier any other vehicle. So it has been built ground up, and so from a design, from a performance, from a comfort perspective, all that which is important for an MPV customer, we try to build it into.
So just to understand what the starting point sort of inside out, because clearly you've understood that you need a bare minimum of space.
Yeah.
I think early Ertiga was compromised on that, especially on the third row. Was that a starting point? Let's do the inside dimensions first and then we go outside.
Absolutely right, Hormazd. We started from the platform, and as you rightly pointed out, the third row comfort was very, very important. And therefore, we needed to carve out more space on the third row. So what did we do? We tried to squeeze the engine space. And so that has been reduced, and we've been able to get about 70 millimeters on the third row, which makes it much, much more comfortable for the third row passenger. The second thing which we also did was that, as you mentioned rightly, comfort is very, very important in the third row too. That was not having a recline. This has a recline feature where you can actually adjust the recline and gives more comfort. The thigh support is there, and when you drive it tomorrow, you will actually see it that there is a lot of change from the earlier Ertiga to the new Ertiga. So from a comfort, convenience perspective, also from the platform, I would say that the 5th generation platform gives it better NVH and better ride handling capability.
Because of the stiffness.
Because of the stiffness, and also that the mounting is a pendulum type of mounting, which is in the 5th generation. It makes the NVH factor much better.
It's more isolated.
Yes, it's more isolated.
It's more cushioned.
Absolutely, it makes it better. And the new suspension, the frame, front as well as the rear axle, those are absolutely new. It's been tuned for Indian conditions, so the ride handling has actually gone one level higher from the current. So all in all, performance which has been built, comfort, and also flexibility of seating, so that the MPV customer will actually enjoy it.
I just want to talk to you, you said it's become bigger. Now the challenge is when it becomes bigger is the weight increases, and when the weight increases, even the cost increases. So were these two conflicting challenges where you have to kind of try and balance it out, and how did you balance it out? Because
always.
If you use high tensile steel, then the cost also goes up to keep those. This whole weight, cost, sort of balance which you have to do.
Absolutely, I think that's something which we are always, as you rightly pointed out, the weight is something which is there, the fuel efficiency is important. We also need to get the body rigid and strong, meet the future crash, the new crash safety norms and all of that. And also give a better ride, and the stiffness of the vehicle also has to be provided. So I think the 5th generation Hardtech platform allowed us to do that. So we were able to actually reduce the weight. So the body in white weight has actually come down by about 20 odd kilograms, and that we were able to then use for putting in the equipment for the safety. And overall, if you see the last Ertiga version to the new Ertiga version, at the lowest variant of petrol, there is no difference in curb weight. So equipment has been added, features have been added, the weight has not been increased, and the power performance has been improved by the K15 engine giving it better fuel efficiency and better drivability.
Right. So anyway, you've talked about the new K15 engine. It seems to me you're betting bigger on petrol in this segment than diesel. This is typically a diesel segment. So I just want to get your thoughts on your powertrain strategy, because I think you're a bit challenged also from a diesel perspective. Let's be honest. Do you think it's a bit of a challenge trying to push petrol on a segment that's traditionally been diesel, because it's all about long distance, it's about people, it's about practicality, and diesel is a practical fuel, you know?
I think how I look at it is that there are things which are happening from an environment perspective and from an energy conservation perspective from the government side too, and automakers are trying to somewhere meet all of these requirements. April 2020 BS6 is going to come in, and it's a one date switchover for date of registration. We need to ensure that our customers don't get affected because of this. Current Ertiga, the generation Ertiga, first generation Ertiga, which is now going to be taken over, the second generation, had almost 45-50% of diesel customers, and that was coming out because of the smart hybrid which we had also put in, and there was a differential of petrol and diesel price which was there. Now, it used to be almost 30 rupees in 2011-12 when we launched it. Now it is down to almost 8 rupees or 9 rupees. So there is that change which is happening. Second, from the future emission norms and from those perspectives, the cost of diesel is likely to go up substantially. So there is always this customer requirement versus whether we can actually meet that requirement and give and make it a fair value proposition for the customer. I think that is something which we are trying to grapple with and try to reach some.
So the sense I'm getting for you is you don't seem to have too much confidence or let's say hope for a small displacement diesel engine going beyond 2020. So I just want to ask you one thing.
I would not say that it is not confidence, but it's about we can do the make it BS6, we can make it RD compliant, we can meet all the future requirements.
But is it worth the cost?
There is a cost which is there, and whether the customer would actually be willing to pay 200,000 rupees or 300,000 rupees more for a SCR type of diesel in this segment is a question mark.
Right.
The better bet would be that now with the government talking about a lot of CNG, and Ertiga had CNG, and of course in future we will talk about it, that CNG would come. So then that becomes a much more attractive proposition for the customer.
Right. So a BS6 Ertiga post April 2020, now maybe even earlier, is that a possibility, or it's nothing decided?
See, definitely we have to ensure, because then we have a long lineup, we have about 15 models. We need to ensure all of them become BS6, and all of them cannot happen on one date.
Right.
We in engineering are constrained with resources and trying to meet all the requirements, and BS6 stringency is much higher in terms of durability and all of that.
Right.
So we have to run all these vehicles extensively across India in both winter and summer climes, and make sure that they are durable and there's no problem for the customer. And we are doing all of that, and I can assure our customers that for sure we will ensure that BS6 variants are available before the deadline.
But it may or may not have a diesel. I mean, that's one thing which we...
Diesel is something which we are already working with internally and seeing what kind of value we can propose for the customer.
Right. Always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank
that
you
was C V Raman, who heads engineering at Maruti. As always, he really gives a great perspective on what's gone behind every model he launches.